Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to this Facebook live feed today again with Andreas from Asia Mind Dynamics. And as usual, we have our Facebook live session on a Tuesday evening and we are always there, we are always coming back, and thank you very much for sinking in. Today we are talking about actually on how to end a coaching session. Over the last couple of weeks, actually months, we have talked about how to set up your coaching session, what it takes to run a successful coaching session. I've interviewed many people. Along that line, I also talked about how much to charge, the different areas of coaching that you can assume that you can go in there. So it is always important to identify, of course, how do you finally end a coaching session? Because many coaches don't exactly know how to end it. Is it where the client doesn't turn up anymore? Is it finished then? Which is possible, of course. You're running the coaching session, and you're running the coaching session, and suddenly the coachee, the client, is no longer turning up. You have been terminated somewhere along that line. It's not what you want as a coach. It is you who is driving the session. You must be able to decide when to terminate or when to finish a session. Now, there is, of course, a relationship between you and your client where you are starting to develop a coaching plan, and then you move on, and then you are finishing the session. Along that line, in the very first beginning of a coaching session, you should have developed something like a coaching plan going forward. So along that line, your client comes to you the very first time. You talk with them. You analyze their issue. Why are they with you? What do they want? What is the outcome they want to achieve? And then you start to elaborate and work with them towards their outcome. I want to say hello to those who have joined me here on this live feed already. And I'm just talking about, and just got started, so to speak, with regard to how do you terminate or finish or complete a coaching session, and when to say stop and thank you very much to your coachee. Because most of the time, there's an issue. We do know how to get started in coaching. We hopefully do know what to do with the coachee along the line. And then how do we know when to terminate, when it's finished, when you have to stop with a coachee? Sometimes we are having a plan with a coachee, with a client, and they're saying something like, you're agreeing about a 5-hour session or a 10-hour session, and then maybe even earlier you finished. It is possible that you finished earlier. How do you continue then? Or you have a 5-hour session, agreed upon 5-hour session, and then suddenly you realize, well, you need more sessions. How do you do this? Because your coachee, your client, does not know the work you're doing. So that's a challenge sometimes. So how do we do this? Well, I like to I don't give hours to my clients. I don't tell them your issue will take 5 hours or 3 hours or 7 hours. I always tell them it will not take longer than 10 hours. Even 10 hours, I believe, is actually a very, very, very long time. And it is a challenge for some people. When they say, like, oh, 10 hours is a long time. But if I work with somebody, for example, on anxiety or on fear or on anger or on panic, on depression even, then 10 hours is actually not a long time, because some of them might have that issue for centuries, for years and years and years and years. For 10 hours, and I can tell them in 10 hours, it's gone if you work with me. I can't promise results. Hey guys, never ever promise results. You can't promise results. Make sure of that one, all right? But never ever promise results. But you can tell them, if you work with me, then we should finish by any time between 8 to 12 hours, and you give you a maximum time frame that could happen. But sometimes it could be longer than 10 hours, because the client might be willing to make the changes. But somewhere along that line, they are getting stuck or don't exactly know how to let go of certain issues in their life, limiting beliefs or so. Or it's been a coachee, a client sent from an organization, they don't exactly know why are they there. And then it takes also time to explain to them the reason why you do coaching with them. So it can take a little while. And I believe, Martin, I do know you do coaching, right? Do you do also coaching? Would be good to know if you do coaching as well. And then if you have a question, you can see here on the screen, hopefully. Hey, Evelyn, good to see you as well. You can see on the screen, please ask questions anytime you choose to, because the session is really about you. I do know how to terminate a session. I do know what it takes to finish a session. So if you got a question, feel free to ask it. And we can have that mutual discussion. And maybe you share this video across your timelines, and then more people can actually join in right now. As coaches, we want clients. We all want clients. You want clients, Martin, right? You want clients. Or Evelyn, if you're a coach or if you work with somebody, you want clients. Somewhere along that line, we get clients. And then we have our appointment booked, scheduled, full, and then we start doing our coaching session. And sometimes we don't know how to finish it, isn't it? It is not necessarily that you finish the session or the coachee or client finish the session. It is sometimes we need to have a discussion about finishing a session. So, how does a coaching session go? You find a client, you get a client, you tell the client some approximate time frame, because most people want to know how long does it take for them to get rid of their issues. Be it the issue of negative emotions, limiting beliefs, or issue of relationship, issue of maybe getting financially free, maybe whatever issues you're coaching on, to become successful, to reach a certain outcome, That's what you're working on. Do not lock yourself in with a fixed, determined time frame, because you never know if you're shorter or if it takes longer. If it takes shorter, it's fine. Especially if you're charging time by time, hour by hour, that's fine, because if you plan for 10 hours and you're finished after 6 hours, that's fine. Your client is happy, you are happy. The challenging is more what happens if you are on 10 hours, you mentioned maybe 8 hours, and you say, it takes a little while longer, what can I do next? Then you would have to go to your coachee and say, where are you standing right now? That's what I have discovered. That's a challenge we are facing right now. We need to have another 2 or 3 hours. Maybe you give them a package or a discounted price even, if the coachee can't afford it. Maybe they even realize, hey, I need to do some extra coaching. Maybe you discovered certain areas where they realize, hey, I need a coaching session on this area as well. It is always possible that a coachee or a client comes up to you and say, I need additional coaching. That's the best scenario. The best scenario, of course, is when you are able to guide a client from the beginning to the end. If you, in your coaching plan, after you meet them initially, and you work through their issues, and you identify the different issues, and you start doing the work, the different interventions, and you're starting one after the next, really running through every single issue. And then, after a while, the client starts to feel better. Hey, Evelyn, that's a question we have had a long time ago. Right? Let me answer you in a moment, okay? Where was I right now? Okay. I get confused by myself. It happens, okay? Evelyn was asking how coaching can help us find potential clients. You mean when you, I know what you mean. Is it when how you as a coach can find a client. Is that what you're saying? Please clarify, Evelyn. Is it really about how you as a coach can identify or find a potential client? That's business coaching, that's marketing coaching, that's market positioning coaching, that is languaging coaching actually on how do you speak to potential clients. You need to have in your mind, you must know who could be your potential client. Who is the one that you want to have? Create an avatar. Somebody who would be your ideal client. What are the issues they are facing? What is the gender like? Maybe the ethnic group, even though I think it's kind of not necessarily important. Income level. And specifically, of course, what keeps them busy? Create a perfect avatar of who is your potential client. And then you're just focusing on those avatars in your marketing. Also, of course, you need to identify, when this is your niche market, of course, for your niche market, you create your avatar, then you need to identify the services you can offer to your potential clients. And then you need to develop marketing scripts along that line to identify, hey, what do you need to say, or not identify, what do you need to say to the people when you meet them? You need also to identify where do you find those clients. It can be on Facebook, other social media, user groups somewhere. It could be in meetup groups, anywhere. There are possibilities. Where do your clients usually hang out? In what area of their life? Are they hanging out in restaurants? Are they hanging out in networking meetings? Are they hanging out in conferences? You need to hang out there as well, because then you find your right clients and you know how to talk to them. Good, let's get back to how do you terminate or finalize a session. Because I'm saying this today, because today is our last session on the coaching series. But it doesn't mean that I finish on Facebook Live, because I enjoy it. So you have a client, you talk to them, you identify the issues they are working with, wants to work on. You are the suitable coach to work with them. You are doing something like a personal history, elaborating, inquiring in detail about your coachees, your client's issue. Do not start the coaching session before you really have uncovered everything and holds the client back. Once you are happy with that, but I also don't do it too long. When I started off 10 years ago with coaching, or even longer back, sometimes my questioning session was 3, 4, 5 hours, it's way too much. Luckily, I'm able nowadays to identify issues very fast, and it just takes me about 2 hours maximum 2 hours, maximum 3 hours, but it's long, because coaches don't like to talk too long about their problem. They want to come to you, or they come to you to get rid of the issues. That's really the issue, how to get rid of the issue. Now, when you coach people, then once you have identified the issues, you're creating a coaching plan. And then you work through this coaching plan with your client, one after the next. Each session, you might have something like a review with your coachee on what you have actually worked on. What are the issues you faced? What are the issues solved during that session? And what comes next? You work through all the issues. Actually, your coachee should start very, very quickly. They should start feeling better and better about their former issue, because you start working on it. It gets better for them. They should feel better about it. So the coachee starts feeling better. Sometimes it's a critical issue. If they start feeling better, they think like, hey, I don't need to go back to my coach or my therapist because I'm done already. That can be a challenge, because they might not be done yet. They might have the issue still within themselves, and you're still working on it. So sometimes it's good to have a warning word to your client to say, hey, we are halfway there, but there are still certain issues we need to work on. Once you're finished with the coaching session and you think you are done, you cleaned it all up, it's not up to you as a coach to say, bye-bye, Mr. Coachee, because now you are done and ready. You might know as a coach the client is done, but the client needs to feel. The client needs to know they can run their life. They know it. You as a coach need to listen out for the congruency. Congruency is an NLP terminology. You as a coach need to know that, need to listen to the coachees or the client's words. And if words come up like should or think I can make it happen, and you doubt a little bit, like have they really gotten to their results? Is that right English? I'm not quite sure. Maybe I need an English coach. But English is all our second language anyway, right? So it is really about, you might know the coachee is done, but you need to listen to their words. If they believe they are done, only when they believe they are done. And in an early stages of your coaching approaches, there is a question, Mr. Coachee, Mr. Client, what needs to happen so you know that your issue is gone? That is an incredibly important question, because the coachee will tell you what do they need to see or hear or feel within their heart so they know their issue has been gone. So they know, they feel good about their issue has been solved. That's what it is all about. Once they do know that, you know you are done actually. Once they know, they have reached the evidence frame. Hey, my problem is gone, and hey, I can now stand up and do my presentation. I can stand up and market my services. I've found the first clients already for you, athlete. I've found the first client already. I can run my life again. The depression is no longer there. The anxiety is gone. The panic attack is gone. Or they have the ability to really actually make money, or they are able to relate to other people easily. When you work on relationship, for example, if coach can't relate to other people, has a problem linking up with people. Once they know they can do it, you are done. As easy as that it is. Do you have any question about this one, clients? Do you have any question regarding how do you say goodbye to your coachee? Because even when the coachee is done, you say bye-bye. Yesterday I finished a beautiful coaching session. There was a coachee of mine. We worked for a couple of hours and it was really great. The challenge sometimes is, now I'm coming from NLP coaching, of course, that some challenge I face sometimes when I'm working with companies or organizations. Some clients tell me, especially when I'm working with companies or so, they don't believe that coaching shall be that fast. They have hold on to their depression or their anxiety or their problem for so and so many years. Oh, how to get rid of that one now? And they're saying, like, when it takes so fast, it doesn't work. I have that problem for 10 years, 20 years. Oh my God, how can it be that my problem is really gone after 5 years or 10 years? 5 hours or 10 hours, I mean to say. That's a challenge sometimes that you need to work on with your coachee. And it's one of the first sessions that they have to experience in my life. They have to experience how rapid change can be. As my logo always is, creating change at last. That you help them to make really rapid changes. And you make those changes with them. And they'll change really lasts. They come back and say, man, woman, wow, I feel good about it. I can run my life. I've met people. I feel free. I feel liberated. I can make some money. That's what you want, because some people don't believe in fast change. So you might have a longer discussion initially about fast change. I'm working a lot with coaching companies, or coaching companies that hire me as an associate coach. And they always have these coaching plans. I'm sorry when I have anybody on this type of coaching listening here right now, okay? They have these plans of coaching for 6 months or even 12 months. And they want to have change of one behavior. Oh my God. And you want to change behavior in 12 months? How long does it take to change behavior? If you come from NLP, you know the change behavior can take a couple of minutes if you want. Of course, you got to embed a bit deeper than to do different interventions to deepen the changes. But it is not long. It doesn't need 12 months to change behavior. So, I would say that this is it for today. Next week, we're going to talk about something else, NLP related. Neuro-linguistic programming related. One more thing you need to know when you say bye-bye to your coachees is that sometimes it's good to follow up with a coachee. A month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, but just say hello to them and say, how is it going? How are the changes going? There's nothing more rewarding than a coachee coming back to you and say, I feel good. My old problems, no longer there. But it's good to follow up with your coachee, with your client, to know if you have been successful in your coaching and if the client is still able to maintain the changes they initiated and happen to happen. Thank you very much for joining in tonight. It was a quick session for about half an hour only. I totally enjoyed it as usual. An F5 to all of you and bye-bye.